Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. The Court of Appeals of the State of Kansas is now in session. The Honorable Chief Judge Karen Arnold-Berger presiding.
You may be seated. Good afternoon. The Kansas Court of Appeals is convened today in special session to swear in our recently appointed judge, the Honorable Angela Coble. I'm Karen Arnold-Berger, Chief Judge of the Kansas Court of Appeals, and I'd like to introduce Judge Coble's colleagues on the court who are all present for this special occasion in order of seniority. First, on my right, Judge Henry Green, the longest serving member of our court from Leavenworth. Next, Judge Tom Malone, former Chief Judge of our court and a former District Judge in Sedgwick County. Judge Stephen Hill, the longest serving law-trained judge in the state and former District Judge from Miami County. Judge G. Gordon Atchison, former reporter from the Wichita Eagle from Overland Park, Kansas, originally from Cortland, New York. And happy birthday today, Judge Atchison. A birthday he shares with the U.S. Supreme Court decision in Brown versus the Board of Education, finding that separate but equal education based on race is inherently unequal. Judge David Bruns, former Shawnee County District Judge, a Wyandotte County native and currently living in Olathe, Kansas. Judge Anthony Powell, former Sedgwick County District Judge, currently living in Wichita. Judge Kim Schroeder, born in Winfield, raised in Hugoton, former District Judge for the 26th Judicial District. Judge Catherine Gardner, currently from Topeka, former law clerk for Senior Federal District Judge Sam Crow. Judge Sarah Warner, Lawrence, Kansas, came to our court from private practice in Lawrence and was a former research attorney for Chief Justice Robert Davis. Judge Amy Fellows Klein came to us from private practice in Wichita and lives in her childhood community of Valley Center, Kansas. Judge Leslie Isherwood, originally from Hutchinson, came to us from a career at the Appellate Division of the Sedgwick County District Attorney's Office. Judge J.C. Hurst from Lawrence, Kansas, who came to us from a career in private civil practice in Kansas City. Judge Coble was nominated by Governor Laura Kelly and confirmed by the Kansas Senate to fill the position vacated by the retirement of Judge Michael B. Boozer. I'm pleased to be able to conduct this ceremony in person, the first at full capacity since COVID forced closures of courthouses around the state in March of 2020. We are live streaming this event as well as closed captioning it for members of the public or family and friends who are not able to attend in person. First, I'd like to thank Doug Shima, clerk of the appellate courts, and Andy Valdivia and Patty Bodorf from his office, who are serving as our bailiffs today. Jan Kullick from the Office of Judicial Administration has been instrumental in making sure that the logistics of this event, including overflow seating, have been arranged with precision. In addition, Winnie Kamada, Richard Opitz, and Jeff Chaddix with the Office of Judicial Administration Information Technology Department have our undying thanks and appreciation for making sure everything digitally runs without a hitch today. Elisa Taylor and Brecken Rowley are handling the public relations and photography piece of the ceremony today. And a special thanks to Judge Coble's Judicial Executive Assistant, Ann Myers, for putting her amazing organizational skills to work to make this happen. We have several Court of Appeals staff members who agreed to come in and assist today and yesterday in ushering, moving chairs, and basically anything we requested. Thank you to Barbara Moore, my judicial assistant, Kathleen Harvey, Cody Robinette, Chelsea Langland, James Gannon, Abby Scheiber, John Scroggins, and Kevin Beckwith. And thank you to Doug Cruz, our security administrator, for advising us on how to make this run smoothly and safely. And finally, a special thank you to Chief Justice Lukert for graciously allowing us to use the Supreme Court courtroom today for this ceremony. I would like to introduce some special dignitaries here today. And I really am sorry if I miss anyone, but I think I've got everyone. First, Governor Laura Kelly, thank you for your attendance today and for your courageous leadership during unprecedented times, as well as her Chief Counsel, Justin Witten. Welcome to Senator Elaine Bowers from Concordia, member of the Senate Judiciary Committee, who approved the governor's appointment of Judge Coble. Sorry, I'm using my glasses to read, so when I look up, it's hard for me to see who's out there. I'm sure none of you have that problem. Also present is Senate Minority Leader Dinah Sykes and her Chief of Staff, Corey Sheedy. Senator Sykes, along with Senator Bowers, have been a strong voice of support of the judicial branch before the Kansas legislature. We are grateful for your continued support. In addition, Governor Kelly appointed a nonpartisan commission to review applications and make recommendations to her to remove any political favoritism from the selection process. One of the members of that commission, Washburn Professor Danielle Dempsey Swopes, is also here today, I think. Thank you for your service in this important process. We're also fortunate to have Federal Magistrate Judge Teresa James to show her support for Judge Coble. Several justices from the Supreme Court are with us today, in addition to Chief Justice Lukert, Justice Caleb Stegall, Justice Evelyn Wilson, and Justice Melissa Taylor Standridge. In addition, we're happy to welcome back retired Judge Michael Boozer, whose position Judge Coble is filling, as well as retired Court of Appeals Judge Steve Lieben, who's now teaching law at the University of Missouri, Kansas City Law School. For those of you who may not be familiar with what Judge Coble's professional life will entail, let me tell you a little bit about what we do. We are considered an intermediate appellate court. 40 states in the United States have intermediate courts or appellate courts whose opinions can be appealed one or more level to the state's highest court, in this case to the Kansas Supreme Court. Litigants have a right to appeal the decision reached in the trial court to our court. We do not have any discretion in what cases come before us. As a result, we hear everything from routine traffic tickets to multi-million-dollar contract disputes and personal injury cases. About 75% of our caseload is criminal. So Judge Coble will be spending the majority of her time analyzing criminal trials, sentences, and analyzing the performance of defense counsel representing those clients and prosecutors pursuing them. There are 14 judges on the Kansas Court of Appeals. We sit in groups of 3 to hear our cases. We're considered a high volume court, running up to 5 panels of 3 judges each every month, with up to 30 cases per panel. That's a maximum of 150 cases per month, 11 months a year at our busiest. If a person is dissatisfied with our decision, they can petition the Supreme Court to take the case. Of the 1,800 appeals we hear and decide every year, the Kansas Supreme Court accepts 150 or less. And well over 50% of those accepted result in our decision being affirmed. So given that we are the final decision maker on the vast majority of appeals from our district courts, our responsibility to the rule of law and justice is weighty. Yet, as an intermediate appellate court, we are also bound by the decisions of the Kansas Supreme Court. We cannot overrule their precedent, and we must follow the rules laid out in their decisions to the best of our ability. We are also a traveling court. In pre-COVID days, we took great pride in sending panels of 3 judges all over the state to take justice to the people. We conduct receptions to meet the public. We speak to grade schools, high schools, colleges, and break bread with the trial judges and their staffs. It has always been one of the most popular parts of the job. We hope to return to that practice in the coming months, although as many courts are finding, it may be difficult to convince attorneys to return to their in-person arguments after they've been accustomed to the convenience and cost savings associated with Zoom. Judge Coble has already been appointed to an internal committee of our judges to help us decide as a court what our future will look like. Judge Coble is the 41st attorney to serve on our court in the last 44 years. She'll be joining a group of judges who are bright, caring, funny, unwavering in their commitment to the rule of law, and who will become a sort of extended family to her. I remember 10th Circuit Court of Appeals Judge Mary Briscoe, who used to sit on this court, describe her fondness of her time on this court by explaining that one does not know the meaning and importance of collegiality until you've had to drive 6 hours together in a car across Kansas and back to hear cases. I hope that gives you a glimpse of what life will be like for Judge Coble. To begin our ceremony, I'd like to note that Assistant Secretary of State Jennifer Cook has delivered Secretary Schwab's certification of Judge Coble's appointment to this court, and I'll ask her to step forward and read it into the record today.
Good afternoon. A certificate of appointment. I, Laura Kelly, Governor of the State of Kansas, hereby appoint and commission Angela D. Coble as Judge of the Kansas Court of Appeals and authorize the appointee to discharge the duties of this office upon fulfilling all legal requirements. Signed this 9th day of March, 2022, Laura Kelly, Governor, Scott Schwab, Secretary of State.
Thank you. Next, the court is honored to recognize Federal Magistrate Judge from the District of Kansas, retired Federal Magistrate Judge from the District of Kansas, Karen Humphreys, as the first speaker to introduce Angela Coble to the court.
Thank you very much, Chief Judge Arnold Berger, Chief Justice Lukert. I feel in some ways like I'm home because there are so many of you that I have enjoyed working relationships with over the years. Governor Kelly, it's wonderful to see you again also. I'm going to go right into my prepared introduction of our new judge for the Kansas Court of Appeals. But I want to begin with a question. What does a small town success story look like? Perhaps we can find some clues and possibly answers to that question by looking at the life of Angie Coble. Angie is a native Kansan whose early years were spent in Rooks County, and I will not ask for a show of hands today of those who have been there. She was born in Plainville in 1972, and she graduated from Stockton High School as Angie Chesney. Following that graduation as the class valedictorian, surprise, surprise, she headed to Kansas Wesleyan University in Salina. And it was in college that Angie's interest in the law and the judiciary were engaged when she took a criminal law class taught by a former member of this very court, the Honorable David K. Knudsen. I think it's actually David S. Knudsen, I'm sorry. He's also from Salina, but his presentation of the subject matter left a big impression on Angie. She graduated in 1994 from Kansas Wesleyan with summa cum laude, with a major in criminal justice and minors in both psychology and Spanish. I don't know how well she'll use the Spanish in this job, but I find, as most of you have found, that it comes in very handy in today's society. From her graduating class, Angie received an academic award for the highest GPA, despite, I hope you're listening, having a 1-week-old child at that time. And because her academic achievements and her continuous participation in several extracurricular activities such as cheerleading and a Habitat for Humanity project, you will also find her senior photograph in the Student Hall of Fame. Following her college graduation, she worked first in the Kansas City, Kansas Federal Court Clerk's Office, and then later remotely from Salina in that same office. And her position was a quality control analyst. She held that job for 6 years. Little did she know how beneficial that starter job would be, because it was early training for the remote work many years later brought on by the pandemic. And then after more than a decade of working and raising her family, 12 years later, Angie entered Washburn School of Law in Topeka and graduated 3 years later in 2009. During her first year of law school, she commuted daily from Salina to Topeka, all the while mothering 4 children, ages 15 to 6. Are you all here today? Yay, thought so. And she studied after the children were in bed at night. I believe our culture now labels that the pattern of Wonder Woman. She excelled in law school, just like she had at Kansas Wesleyan and high school. She received her JD, cum laude, and ranking in the top 10% of her class. She also served on the Washburn Law Journal as the article's editor. This is meaningful to those of us who understand the law school thing, probably not so much to those of you who haven't been through the law school regimen. Following her law school graduation in 2009, Angie then served as an associate and junior partner at the Salina law firm of Kennedy, Berkeley, Yarnovich, and Williamson for 4 years. 22 years ago, Angie and Mark Coble were married, blending a family of 8 children, in case anybody's keeping track. Mark will soon achieve a 30-year landmark with a highly regarded Blue Beacon International company headquartered in Salina. By this time of their marriage, it was and is clear that Angie excels at many jobs. And now we should add a new title to her title. That would be grandparent, because her resume tells us that she is Grammy to 5 grandchildren. I see a couple of them are here today, with a 6th scheduled to arrive this summer. 9 years ago, in the year 2013, which we don't all remember, but I do. But while residing in Salina, Angie began her law clerk experience with me, commuting to Wichita and working remotely from Salina. Her clerkship covered both criminal and civil matters. And at Angie's invitation to provide this introduction, it proves that our friendship has endured the test of time. Angie, thank you very much. Angie also continued to commute from Salina to Wichita and clerk for U.S. Magistrate Judge Gwen Berzer, who also will be speaking. During this recent 9 years' time, Angie never neglected her civic duties, as evidenced by serving as the past president of the Saline Ottawa County Bar Association and also serving as president for the Saline Family Healthcare Center. Both of those jobs could have easily become full-time positions. Her resume includes a number of other community activities, too numerous to mention, but I do want to say volunteering at her children's schools, other community boards, and legal organizations are just part of what make her a real citizen. Now that brings us to 2022 and the governor's nomination, thank you so much, and the Senate confirmation, thank you so much, of Angie to serve as one of 14 judges on a very good court called the Kansas Court of Appeals. Angie comes to this Court of Appeals dedicated to serving the judicial branch and the citizens of Kansas. She is eminently qualified by her legal experience and temperament to fill the shoes of the Honorable Michael Boozer, who will be missed. If nothing else, Mike, for your humor, thank you. She has superb research and writing skills. She is analytical and provides the correct legal conclusion. She is collegial. She is affable. She is reasonable, steady, focused, and committed. And may I also add, she is modest and humble. As a result, in other words, you would never know this stuff if you were just listening to Angie right now. I'm the one that gets to brag about her. As a result of her lifetime experiences, she enjoys a mature perspective, solving problems and working well with others. And finally, if I may observe, Angie's investiture today marks a truly historic event, which all of us are witnessing. The composition of this Court of Appeals is now evenly balanced with, are you counting? 7 men and 7 women. I arrived a bit early today and looked at the collection of photographs on the walls on this 3rd floor. And there were far too few women's photos to make me a happy camper. But I want to extend my heartfelt congratulations to Angie and to Mark and to their fine family on this occasion. I hope that these introductory remarks assist you in knowing what a small town success story looks like, starring Angie Coble. Thank you very much.
Before I introduce our next speaker, now that my glasses are off, I also know we have another distinguished guest here today, and that is former Lieutenant Governor and now Director of Commerce. State Treasurer. See, I need my notes. Lynn Rogers, thank you very much for being here. Okay, next, the court is honored to recognize retired federal, or excuse me, current federal magistrate judge. Magistrate Judge for the District of Kansas, presiding in Wichita, the Honorable Gwen Berzer, to further discuss Ms. Coble's qualifications. I should have just left well enough alone.
Berger and members of the Kansas Court of Appeals, Chief Lukert, and members of the Kansas Supreme Court, Governor Kelly, and members of the Kansas Legislature. Judge Angela Coble. Congratulations, my friend. I know it's been a long time coming, and it just warms my heart to see that your dreams have been realized. And now that you're about to be sworn in, rocked out, and robed up, it is time to do your best to contribute to what I consider the best legal system in the world. And as a matter of record, I have no doubt that you are up to that task. Angie and I met about 7 years ago, and I am happy to this very day that we remain friends and mentors to each other. And Judge Humphreys, you provided a wonderful insight about Angie and her small town upbringing and how her successes have shaped her. And I wouldn't have known Angie had it not been for you. So, but I do want to focus on the things that I learned about Angie during her lifetime with the federal court. And again, I mean, as I think about this day, I don't think that I don't know that I would have met Angie had it not been for you, Judge Humphrey. So I am thankful for that. But maybe I would have met her in Lynchburg at the Stuga. Right? Or perhaps at a law school function, but I'm not certain about that. But what I do know is that when I met Angie, I was in the company of an accessible, noble, gifted, energetic, learned, and authentic woman. And in case you all didn't catch that, that's the acronym for Angela. Right? Okay. So, but when Judge Humphreys first told me about Angie, she told me how smart she was. She said all these really good things about her. But it wasn't until I really began to work with Angie that I really knew how smart and dedicated she really is. And Chief Arnold Berger, I know you already know this, so you'll soon learn this, but Angie's going to be an asset to the appellate bench in Kansas. She'll also be a great jurist to the lawyers appearing before her. And most importantly, she's going to be fair to the litigants whose matters are before her. During Angie's time with the federal court and while working with me, she drafted well over 200 opinions. And I'll tell you, Angie has this way of wrapping her arms around the most complex of matters. And she can analyze that matter in a concise and a well-rounded way. And it was so helpful to her work in chambers that in her coffers, that she had practical experience from her legal practice with the excellent lawyers of the Kennedy Berkeley firm. And she understood discovery disputes, and she also had a way of grasping the pressures of practice and appearing before the court as, you know, as an advocate to their clients. And adding that practical approach and recognition to interactions with counsel and litigants and to any written opinion, quite frankly, adds credibility to the final work product. And so I'm thankful for that, Angie, that you brought all of that to help me as I got into chambers. One thing that I believe you can count on with Angie is that she will follow the law, and she is decisive. And there's been times when we were conferencing about cases, when I felt one way or the other, and she felt one way or the other about a particular litigant and a factual scenario. At the end of the day, I can always remember her saying, I know, Judge, but it's the law. And so, and usually that's the end of it. So now, Judge Coble, I hope you take your own advice. Because when the decision about a case is before you, even when following the law is difficult, even when working in panels of 3, and you must decide what to do, remember, it is what we have to do. But there is balance to that. And that's through engagement in legal and local communities. And Angie's not a stranger to that. I have watched Angie engage herself in leadership positions and committee work within the state bar, the local bar, infinity bars. And she even let me know in her own way during a certain time of the year, I had to stop the presses so she could make her annual trek to the Kansas Women's Attorneys Association Conference in hotter than July, and weather with her friends who are also great lawyers for their reunion. But that time away from Chambers brought her back to Chambers noticeably, well, tanned, reinvigorated, and more learned because of the wonderful CLEs and the presenters. And she was also geared up to, I guess, follow the law. But Angie's leadership tendencies were also recognized in federal court, and her ability to seek out and maintain relationships really and truly made her a beloved member of the District of Kansas. Her work on court governance initiatives is another reason why I think that she is a good fit for the appellate courts. She's committed to making her workplace, wherever it is, better. She contributed to the rigors of federal court by working on the Rule 1 committee. And as most of you know, and even contrary to popular belief, I guess, state and federal courts, they continuously strive to make litigation just, speedy, efficient, and inexpensive. And that takes a lot of work from people who are committed to this kind of ideal. And so for the court to maintain that posture, it's necessary to periodically review those rules to ensure efficiency and to assure that those rules are innovative and in keeping with the changing times. And Angie was very active and a very active member of the Rule 1 committee and was vocal about the changes to the local rules and the procedures that were needed. We also had an opportunity to travel together to a national conference to impress upon members of other federal courts across the country that a new computer system implemented by the folks in Washington would contribute also to the efficiency of our work. And in paying that forward, Angie served on a law school committee to award a District of Kansas Law School scholarship named for one of our deceased federal judges to a deserving student. But even in light of all of this, one of the most important things or most important qualities that I discovered about Angie is not who she is or not who she was when I met her, but what she could become. And that's what made me really and truly love Angie. During our time working together, I saw her evolve as a wife, as a mother to a wonderfully blended family with young adult children, as a daughter, as a mother to a stand-in sister, a niece, a friend to many, a law clerk, a co-worker, a leader, a grandmother, a role to which I think she is most proud, and now as an appellate court judge. So at the end of the day, I think I say all this to say Angie is just plain solid. She's Kansas solid, she's jurist solid, she's teamwork solid, she's community solid, and she is family solid. So Angie, in closing, you now know, and I hope that you'll pass along to others, and I know you will, that when you set your sights on a place where you feel you could best contribute and you feel in your heart that you have the determination to get there, and you go in knowing and understanding that that road will wind with twists and turns and not take you straight there. But you continue on your journey, believing that you will arrive, you will get there. Because you, my friend, have arrived. And all of us here could not be happier for you. So congratulations, Judge Coble.
Judge Coble, would you and your husband and your mother step to the podium, please, and meet me there? Judge Coble is now going to officially be greeted by each of the members of our court. May all be seated, or we may be seated. You're already seated. Before hearing from Judge Coble, although Judge Humphreys has stole my thunder a little bit, I would like to make note again of the historic fact and first for this court. 7 women now sit on the Kansas Court of Appeals, half the court. Thank you, Governor Kelly, for helping to ensure that our court now reflects our community. Judge Coble, do you wish to make any comments at this time?
I will.
Okay.
I learned from JC's speech that you can't say no.
Right.
Thank you, Chief Judge Arnoldberger, for that introduction, and thank everyone for being here today. Thank you to the entire Court of Appeals for making me feel so welcome over the past few weeks. And thank you to the members of the Supreme Court and Doug Shima, and all of the staff who I know juggled a very busy schedule this week. And thank you for both being here and to permit us to use this beautiful space today. I also want to thank my friends and mentors, both Judge Berzer and Judge Humphreys, for introducing me, taking the time to present, prepare and present those charitable and very humbling introductions. You've each taught me so much over the past decade. About the day-to-day work of a judge, about friendship. And I've appreciated both of your mentorship over the past decade and look forward to our continued friendship. As I've read and listened to others' remarks during their own investiture ceremonies, and I've spent the past couple of weeks trying to come up with some profound wisdom to share with all of you, I think I've come up short, but I'm going to give it a shot. I was advised that Judge Michael Boozer's investiture was the one to follow. I'm not sure a person can top his presentation of flowers to his wife during the investiture ceremony. So sorry, Mark. No flowers. As I've heard from his former colleagues and friends, and after reading some of his writings, Judge Boozer's quick wit and shrewdness are not easily matched. So I fear it'll be difficult to fill his entertaining shoes. So as I reflected on what I would really like all of you to know, I kept coming back to one primary theme, and that is just thankfulness. Now I'm going to embarrass my mom for a minute, and I'm probably going to get one of my friends in trouble. But last fall during my daughter's wedding, a friend of mine commented to my mother that she sure did a good job with Angie. And my mom, who's one of the sweetest, calmest people on the face of the earth, responded, "Oh, I can't take credit for that. Angie does everything on her own." But that comment's really continued to reverberate in my head and my heart ever since, because the reality is this: although it undoubtedly took inner fortitude, grit, if you will, to pursue this path, I most certainly did not arrive at this place and this seat in this moment all on my own. So first, I want to thank some of our distinguished guests. Governor Kelly, thank you for having the confidence in my qualifications. And to your staff, who are fantastic. Justin, Shelby, Melissa, Ashley, Katie, and I'm sure I'm missing people. But thank you all for assisting me through the confirmation process. And really, I felt like I just gained another group of friends. So thank you. Thank you so much for just helping me through the entire process, and also to those senators who took time to meet with me in advance of confirmation. And I know we have Senator Bowers. Thank you for your kindness and encouragement. Thank you also, Senator Dykes, Corey Sheedy, for helping with preparation. I had such a fantastic experience inside the Capitol that, you know, participating in such a real life civics lesson from the inside is an experience I'll never discount or forget. I'd also like to thank you, Governor Kelly, for creating the Court of Appeals Nominating Commission, even though it was not statutorily required. The members of the commission took their roles very seriously, and they dedicated probably many more hours than anticipated with multiple Court of Appeals vacancies over the past couple of years. After many conversations with those on the commission, I'm confident the commissioners were most diligent in their work, and I've enjoyed getting to know many of them. So to those of you who are here, I thought I saw Mike Fleming. Thank you, Mike. Also Judge Humphreys. And I hope I didn't miss anyone else, but thank you all for your dedication to ensuring the selection process is meritorious and fair. Thank you again to the entire Court of Appeals, who have each received me warmly and already introduced me to lunch at Terry's on multiple occasions. And Judge Malone, who is my volunteer mentor and the sharer of our office suite. Thank you for everything, from orientation to answering random questions to letting me in the office when my badge didn't work. I appreciate all you've shared thus far, and I'll apologize in advance for the many questions yet to come your way. To the whole Judicial Center staff, especially to Ann Myers and Brian Kong, thank you for being my chief of organization and gently nudging me to complete all the necessary tasks. Today would certainly have not happened without all of you. And Brian, I'm looking forward to working together, and I promise to stop asking you to lift heavy appliances or use a hammer. I also want to recognize several members of the Kansas Supreme Court, the Court of Appeals, and the Kansas Women Attorneys Association. Chief Justice Lukert, Justice Standridge, Chief Judge Arnold Berger, Judges Warner, Klein, Isherwood, Hurst, and Kathy Webb. I think Kathy's out there. So many of you took time from your busy schedules to discuss the judicial application process with me and encourage me along the way. And I certainly plan to pay these generosities forward in the future where possible. Last but certainly not least, I want to thank my family and friends. I would not be sitting here without each one of you. So I'd like to take a minute to introduce you all to a few people in attendance. My husband, Mark, who helped me into my robe. When Mark and I married, we put together quite a lively household, which included 8 children and 4 dogs. In the past 12 years, our Brady bunch of children has grown considerably with the addition of spouses, significant others, and grandchildren, and our orbit has been a constant source of activity, which shows no signs of slowing. Mark is my calming force, and he rolls with all the punches, not the least of which was his wife's continuous pursuit of new career adventures. So thank you, Mark, for your continued support and your willingness to eat frozen pizza. I'd also like to introduce my mother and father-in-law, Barb and Ted Coble, who have offered much support along the way. My brother-in-law, Randy Coble, is also here. Next to Mark are seated my mother, Sandy Rogers, and stepfather, Michael. Although my mom's not a person who enjoys the spotlight, she's always been a quiet but constant supporter. I think my first inkling of one day becoming a judge was born when my mom worked as a clerk in the beautiful Rooks County Courthouse when I was a young child, and she instilled in me the value of public service. And I'll try to get through this next piece without being too emotional, but I need to thank our children. So as I call your names, if you could just stand up. First, Tyler, Tate, Timory, and Trevor. These 4 amazing people sacrificed as much as anyone as children when their stay-at-home mom decided to pursue law school during their own school years. I know it wasn't easy for any of us, and I want you to know your own sacrifices did not go unnoticed. And I'm incredibly proud of the adults you've each become. So stay standing up. Grace was unable to be here. Sophie's family has a sick little one, but Stefan and Logan, if you could stand up. These boys welcomed me into their family 12 years ago, and like in the Brady Bunch, we had our share of early angst, but over the years, as our bond has grown, I now consider you some of my greatest supporters and friends. So I'd like all of my children's spouses and significant others to also stand. And I think we lost Jasper. So 3 of our 5 grandchildren are here today. Mr. Jeremiah, who will be 5 this summer. Jasper, who is taking a nap. She's 3, she's had a long day. And little Tucker, who was born on Easter. So thank you all. I'm proud of each and every one of you. Thank you so much for being here and for supporting me through this process. And sit down now. Thank you. There are a few people missing today. My stepmother, Sue, and my dad, Kent Chesney, who would have literally been bursting his buttons, or more aptly, the seams of his inappropriate t-shirt, if he had lived to see today. And his parents, my Grammy and Grandpa Wanda and Warren Chesney, they taught me so much about the value of hard work on their farm in Rooks County. And they played an incredibly formative role in my childhood. So thank you to my paternal aunts and uncles for being here, representing my extended Chesney family. My maternal grandparents, Wayne and Dolores Hackett, were also lifelong public servants and postmasters of their small North Dakotan town, and I know they would have loved to share in this moment, along with my grandparents, step-grandparents on both sides, Raymond and Mary Rogers, and Chet and Opal Baxter. I know they're all watching from above today, and I know I have cousins, aunts, and uncles on all 4 sides of my family watching online, and I'm eternally grateful for each one. So if you thought the preceding introduction of family seemed overwhelming, I haven't even yet mentioned my 10 siblings. My first built-in friends. At only 1 year my senior, my brother Philip, who's watching online, has long been my protector, punching my bullies on the playground since the early 80s. Here today are my sisters Amber, Annie, and Alexa, with Amanda watching online. These were the 4 younger sisters at my mother's house who I've always affectionately referred to as the girls. And they've all been cheering me on since I began my legal journey. There's a good chance that at least a few of you attending today have been the recipient of a group email from Amber touting the qualities of her older sister. And that's just how the girls operate for each other. Also here today is my brother Andy, his wife Kim. My brother Scott was unable to make it. I grew up with the girls at my mom's house and the boys and my sister Monica also watching online at my dad's house. And let's just say, I'm not sure which house was the rowdiest, but when the chips fall, we always get in line to support and defend each other. Also here today are my 2 youngest sisters, Allie and Marissa, who in the years since our dad's passing have become more like daughters. And they've grown to be successful young women of who I'm very proud. This large crew might seem overwhelming, and I would be lying if I said it was never difficult or messy, but having such a large immediate family has provided me so many benefits that outweigh any difficulties, including teaching communication skills, conflict management, and given me a built-in support system and lifelong friends that I value greatly. In addition to my family members, there are a number of friends here, or quite simply, the additional family I've chosen for myself. So for all of you here or watching online, whether you've allowed me to live in your home, gone on a walk with me to clear my mind, fed the dog while I'm traveling, driven my kids to school or activities, brought me cookies or a meal, sent a letter on my behalf, sent flowers to cheer me on, responded to a panicked call, lived together while studying for the bar exam, or any number of other supportive gestures, you all know who you are, and I love each and every one of you. Although I know my comments are a bit long, one of those hash marks perhaps in the con column of having a large family, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention my friends and former partners at Kennedy, Berkeley, Yarnovich, and Williamson. Approaching graduation, I was incredibly fortunate to have employment options following law school. Something about my on-campus interview with Jim Angel and Larry Michael just felt right. And as fortune would have it, it was the perfect spot for me to land. Most of the attorneys there also hailed from rural Kansas. And we not only handled a variety of legal issues, from the issues of independent farmers to complex litigation, but the attorneys and staff had a lot of fun, especially on the 6th floor. I'm just going to put in a plug for the 6th floor. Each person there taught me so much about the practical parts of law, from billing time to communicating with clients to respect for the court. And despite me being a quitter and leaving practice to become chambers counsel, many of us have remained friends, and I've received immeasurable support in the years since I departed the firm. So thank you all for your gestures of encouragement over the past several years. In my professional life, from my days working as a front desk clerk in the federal court, through law school, private practice, and my work as a federal research attorney, I've remained focused on 2 overarching ideals. One is just to seek out and truly enjoy learning about the law every single day, and to do my best to ensure that the law is applied fairly, whether it's to my client or by the judges with whom I've worked. As I embark on this new endeavor, I promise to continue learning every day and to apply the law independently and fairly. I'm honored by all of your trust in me to do so. At the risk of keeping you here so long that the cheesecake melts and Anne will have my hide if that happens, I want to leave you with this. As I was preparing for my application process a while back, I read an article written by retired Chief Justice Lawton Nuss of the Kansas Supreme Court. He wrote this in 2002 when he was actually still a practicing lawyer in Salina. His article was titled "This Learned and Versatile Court," and he quotes Chief Judge Harmon's speech at the 1977 inaugural proceedings of the Kansas Court of Appeals, announcing the underlying philosophy of the court. This court's constituents not only are the litigants whose appeals we shall be hearing, but the entire bench and bar and the citizenry of Kansas. We are acutely aware of the expectations placed upon this court in affording an expeditious and a less expensive appeal procedure, along with a fair and just disposition of cases. So as we sit here today, 45 years later, it seems to me those expectations have been and continue to be realized. My own personal goals align with those expectations. I promise to work for the benefit of not only the parties appearing before the court, but to uphold the trust of my colleagues, lawyers, and the citizens of the state of Kansas. I promise to do my best to ensure the appeals before me are decided fairly and efficiently, and I endeavor to author decisions which are easily understood by all and which leave the litigants with the knowledge their concerns have been heard. Thank you again for your support and your confidence in me. Retired Court of Appeals Judge David Knutson recently told me to enjoy the festivities and then get to work dispensing justice. So let us all go enjoy some refreshments now, and we will all dispense justice tomorrow.
Thank you, Judge Coble. This concludes today's ceremony. A reception for Judge Coble and her family will be held in the Hall of Justice immediately following this ceremony. Please remember to sign the guest book and offer your personal congratulations. I request that this court, the Supreme Court, and Judge Coble's family have the opportunity to leave the courtroom first so that they can be ready to greet you downstairs at the reception. Sarah Stratton, the appellate reporter of decisions, is requested to make today's proceeding part of the permanent record of this court. Thank you all for coming today, and for those joining us online, court is adjourned.